Hi, everybody. Welcome back again. So, between the last episode and this one, episode 3, it looks like Ms. Marvel is moving more toward an ongoing intermittent story, the way a lot of current shows are set up. I had hoped that we were going to get an actual episode-based narrative, so it's kind of a bummer, but still enjoying it. Yay! So, I'm going to kind of go through this chronologically and just share what was going on and what I was thinking, and that's it. Hopefully, I can get this on YouTube before the episode goes live. Fingers crossed, everybody. No promises. So this episode starts with a flashback to 1942. We finally get to meet Aisha. And this is the scene where she finds the bangle, and it made me wonder. Their dialogue indicates that they've been looking for this for a while, and that made me wonder how long. When did they arrive in this dimension? It cuts then to Najma's house, and we get the idea that this is sort of what she's been telling Kamala about. As some of the other adults show up, I loved the popcorn, and of course the remark that he just latches on to the stupidest parts of human culture. So it's a little bit of a slam on Zoe Zimmer there. So this is where Kamala finally begins to learn more about her own family's history, as well as some of why the bangle is doing some of the things that it's doing. One of the things that was interesting in this is I've talked about the use of language before. In this case, Najma tells her about the dimension that they come from, and she says that it's called the Noor dimension. And Kamala says, I know that word, it means light, which is interesting because this is the first time that I think that she has just gone ahead and said what the word means. Like, she's not explaining that to anybody. Like, Najma already knows that. So really she's explaining it to the audience, which is interesting because they've been very careful to make sure that it was connected. Other uses of other languages are pretty clear from the context. And so it's interesting this time that this one is not one that somebody else has to ask about. There's nobody there who wouldn't know. But of course, it being connected to the light from the bangle, it makes sense that this would need to be defined for the audience. In this scene, I started wondering more about the jinn. The fact that Najma only recently has had a family, whereas Aisha has had a family for some time. And this goes back to my question about how long have they actually been in this dimension? What causes them to divert from their purpose of trying to get home and sort of put down some roots here? Or are they looking to, is that part of their strategy? Are there other bloodlines? Like, since their aging is slowed, have they had to separate from other families before and then start new families? Also, where are the dads? Like, where's Kamran's dad? There's a reference that Sana was able to find her father, and, given his age, it really doesn't make a lot of sense that, that's the only story that we have of him. Of course, even in the flashback, we don't see him either. But also, Sana's husband is not, he's not in the narrative at all. So, there are no stories about him. They haven't talked about him. We haven't met him as a character. So, a lot of the dudes are missing. Quite often, it's the female characters who are missing. But this time, it seems to be the other way around. So, that definitely piqued some questions for me. I am a all gender questioner. I'm not just concerned about the women. And then also, exile is a punishment. They were kicked out of their home. And Kamala just doesn't, she's like, yeah, I'll help you get back home. She doesn't it doesn't occur to her that maybe they're not supposed to be home. Like, this is the equivalent of the Phantom Zone, I guess. Our world is the punishment. Yikes. This is their version of hell, I guess. And which seems really kind of timely, which is sad. So then we flip to Bruno's room. Yes, we've definitely established Nightlight is not a strong name for a superhero. We know this. Bruno's line, when Kamala says she's a djinn, is he goes, Antonic? It threw me out for a minute. I'm like, he should know that. But it makes sense in context because he's saying, I didn't know what happened to you. You can't just tell me that you're alive and then go to sleep. What happened? How did you get out? Da da da. And then she just comes up with, I'm a djinn. there's not really a lot of context for what she says. However, what doesn't make sense is that once she gives the context, she needs to explain what Jinn are to Bruno, that he needs some kind of, basic level primer. It's not that esoteric a cultural reference. And Bruno, I think, given what we've seen of his attempts to connect with her family before, it makes sense that this would be something, especially since it's something that she used to have nightmares about, that it seems more likely that it would have made sense that he would be familiar with that. I thought the awkwardness between Bruno and Kamala was handled really well. It seems like part of the reason that he doesn't want to leave is, she's his friend and he wants to be there for her while she's going through all this, but also he's starting to have feelings for her, as well as, leaving and going across the country and it being not super familiar to him. And then also, just saying that he didn't really have a chance to tell her because she's been busy with her stuff, which is totally valid. And I feel like the awkwardness it felt authentic. It wasn't over or underplayed. So that was handled really well. And then we cut to the mosque. I want to say that first shot of Deaver getting out of the vehicle and it focuses on her cute little ankle boots. That was a great setup for the end of the scene. Just all the characters there are really strong, really well played. I'm really starting to like the Imam. I really liked the way that he didn't let anybody push him around, but at the same time, he wasn't he didn't push back. He was very, not even restrained, but he was just very calm. I loved the way that the expression as he was looking at Nadia as she was just sassing Agent Deaver, because he could tell that she knew what she was talking about, but she's so young and passionate, and he's, you can tell that he cares about her. And that was I thought that was really, we're seeing more development from him, and we see more later as well. We continue into the next scene with Nadia and Kamala, and just like with Kamala and Bruno, there's again a nice sort of awkwardness as they're going through different things. And, Kamala wasn't there at the mosque, and Nadia doesn't know about Kamala's powers. There's so much that isn't stated, but indicated through context, as well as Iman Vellani's expression. She pulls it off really, really well. Like, you can tell there have been multiple times when she started to tell Nadia about what's going on, but either they get interrupted, or in this case, it's prevented by Nadia's frustrations about, who is this person, and she's creating problems, not exactly problems, but drawing attention to them in a potentially unfavorable way. And of course, when the government steps in, you get people who are just, kind of flexing, and things don't go well. It transitions nicely to the Mendi, and I was a little bit confused about whether they were all actually related or not, because when Taisha asks if these are all family, Kamala says yes, but then the woman who's sitting not next to her, but next to her mother on the couch on the other side from her says, "What is a 28-hour flight with 4 connections among friends?" I think some of what we look at here is what it means to be family, and that it's not just about blood relationships. And I think that's actually going to come up throughout the series because of the issue with Kamala being related to the Jinn, as well as, we've seen Kamran as well. So we're going to come up to, what it means to be related to someone and what family is beyond just blood kinship. And also, I want to point out, that is a lovely bit of passive aggressiveness there. It's just like, oh, come on, what is doing all of this effort among friends? They also talk about Sana, which is Muniba's mother. And during the course of that conversation, it's really subtle, but Kamala moves her left hand, which is where she wears the bangle. At the start of the scene, it's in her lap. She's actually getting the henna on her right hand, which she has out on the arm of the sofa. But then when it cuts to Muniba talking about her mother missing her wedding, Kamala has her left hand tucked under her dupatta. That's the scarf that she's wearing with her shalwar kameez. And then when they tease Kamala about causing difficulty for her mother, she's got her hand over the dupatta as well, on top of her left wrist. It's really easy to miss this because all of these movements happen while it's out of frame. And that's another way that the show definitely benefits from rewatching. I had not noticed this on the first time I watched it, but as I'm looking at, the dialogue and who said what and, talking about family and those sorts of things, I'm going back through and, kind of thinking about, what I wanted to talk about and noticing things that I missed like that. Something else I'd forgotten was I'd seen Nadia teaching some Bhangra, some dance moves at the Mehndi. And I was just like, okay, that's nice. Why is she doing that? But the second time through, I noticed she's also holding her phone. And after having seen the wedding, I know what she's teaching them. But there's so much that goes on in the background that I'm sure that this would be something that benefits from multiple rewatches to catch all of the details that have been placed into the scenes. The part where the imam comes out to talk to Kamala is just lovely. Between this conversation and the scene with Nadia and Ancient Deaver, it has really helped to develop him as a more nuanced character than just what we saw in the previous episode. I did see it coming, but his line, "Good is not something you are. It's something you do." It's just, again, it's really timely. And Laith Nakli delivers it with a warm sparkle that just, it's so encouraging. I think Kamala is not the only one who needs to hear that. Also, it raises the question, why didn't Sana go to her daughter's wedding? She's not the one who disappeared, remember? That was Muniba's grandmother, Aisha. Not Sana, who was the little girl who was able to reunite with her father. So there's definitely a story there that we're not really aware of. We jump to Bruno's job, and again, Yusuf. How can you not love him? I love that he can't resist his favorite junk food. The fact that his secret vice is freaking grandma's apple pies. It tells you everything you need to know about his character. Yusuf Khan is just a pure cinnamon roll. Honestly, can we get a spin-off, like a rom-com about Yusuf and Muniba when they first meet? Because I just love them both so much. We pop back to Bruno's room, and I realize we haven't seen any other parts of his house. Like, Kamala's gotten there somehow. Like, what's the rest of it like? Especially given her, her just a little one-off comment about, poor Bruno doesn't have much in the way of family. What's going on there? However, of course, he does have a poster of Tesla, the actual dude, mind you, not the car, on his wall. So that seems more of a plot development. We don't really get much of the character interaction there as well. But it establishes the fact that, there's more to it than just, find the other bangle, swoop, everybody gets sent back to where they want to go. But we're really only focused on the danger to this dimension. That, any sort of interaction this powerful carries some potential consequences. We cut back to Kamala's house in the bathroom. She's kind of fixing up her knee. A great little scene, nicely introduced in the previous scene where she was complaining about her knee. Zenobia Shroff is wonderful. There's some real depth and warmth to their relationship here. The invitation to connect is really important here. I think Muniba knows a lot more than she's letting on about what Kamala is going through. And certainly more than she's told us about what's going on, about what she knows about her family. So that I think finding out more about that is going to be really interesting. I think she's trying to protect Kamala from something that she views as potentially dangerous. Remember earlier, she said, all that matters is that you are safe. I think that word is more important than we really focused on before. Safety is important. It's an important part of health, but there are other parts of health that may get neglected if that is what you focus on. We then pop to the wedding. There's a nice parallel because Yusuf is talking to Amir, and again, they're connecting. And Kamala's kind of outside, well, literally outside, but, this conversation, it's not about her, but at the same time, you can see not just from the writing, but also from her reactions, again, great work, Iman Vellani, that it is about her, the importance of family, the importance of not being alone, which is exactly what Mooney was telling her earlier. I'm kind of sensing a pattern here. The wedding itself, it was a lot of fun. Amir and Taisha are so cute together. You just want to pinch their little cheeks. It's sweet and it's warm, and there's this connection and community, and all of that contrasts nicely with the dark tones in the scene between Kamran and his mother that we cut to. Najma has taken her son's phone and found out that Kamala isn't just going to play along. It is interesting that Kamran is immediately placating, saying he was going to tell her rather than, what the hell? I can't believe you took my phone. Oh my God, Mom, you're ruining my life. I mean, so there's definitely a different dynamic between this particular teenager and his parent. Najma is clearly not a nice lady. And it made me, again, I'm wondering about their relationship. When Najma says, this place will never be our home, exactly who does she mean by our? Does it include Kamala since she's of the Genie bloodline? Does it even include her own son? What exactly does family mean to her? So from there, we go to the reception, high energy, but of course, there's also an undercurrent of tension because we know that Najma's got to be up to something. The dance was absolutely adorable. What I loved was that if you watch the moves, none of it's really difficult, but so many people are involved and the timing is key. And they're dancing together in a lot of cases. This takes a lot of organizational work to put something like that together. Family and friends pitching in together to create something unique for the bride and groom. And again, it's about that community, it's about family, it's about what it means to be family, that it's more than just bloodline. And it's about, again, it's not about being good. Good is something that you do. So all of those ideas coming together in what they're doing. Interestingly enough, we saw Bruno wasn't at the Mendy, but he learned his part too. And I can't help wondering if Nadia sent him the choreography video and he practiced on his own. So the dance really, I think some people are going to say, well, it doesn't fit because it doesn't move the plot forward. Story is more than plot. This does some character development. We get to see more from Taisha's family. And also, I think some of the characters who were involved that we saw on screen are ones who will be important later, though I'm not certain. And again, it does more establishing some of the thematic concepts. I also want to say, I really loved Brown Jovi. And again, there's that contrast between the darkness of the scene previously. We have a lighter, warm, and also humorous moment there. Kamala asking Bruno to dance was note perfect. It's casual and natural, and there's no romantic tension in that moment because they're best friends. It's a brother's wedding. They've just finished dancing to the Bhangra piece. But of course, there's some potential tension there because we've seen it earlier. However, before it can develop, it gets cut off because Kamran shows up to tell Kamala about Najma. Gen Xer note, the band starts Bed of Roses, of course, slowing it down, as they say. But then when the action sequence begins, we start in with Living on a Prayer just through the score. Both choices, perfection. And can I say, I love the kitchen staff. Kamala shows up, just bursts in and says, you all have to leave, you're in danger. And they're just like, okay, I got work to do. However, as soon as one of the Jin shows up and drops a dude, fist to the face, they shift gears, set down the peppers, eggplant, and some kind of root vegetable, and they leave. Just immediately, nope, I'm done with this. I'm not, again, it doesn't say it, but clearly it's grounded in the MCU. Remember, superheroes have been here and supervillains for a while, so they're like, nope, we know what this is, we're out, bye. If you just tell us that there's an emergency, the fire alarm's been going off, that's okay. We're good with that. However, when there's a fight sequence, that's when you leave, okay? Unless you have powers, that means that you're a potential victim. Bye, you're out. So yeah, fighty. It seems that the use of powers is in some cases reflexive rather than Kamala consciously choosing to block or shield. And of course, we do finally get the big fist. Yay! Also, there seems to be some kind of invisibility or teleportation or time shift in which Kamala is able to move further and do more without somebody noticing that anything's happened. It's not really clear yet how that's working, and Kamala hasn't been noticing it or pointing it out, so I'm not really sure what's going on with that. It happens a few times in the sequence, including when she's about to be discovered by one of the Jinn, and when she and Najma see the steam engine coming toward them, and abruptly the damage control agents are just like there, very suddenly. And then also when Kamala and Bruno, almost called him Brian, make their escape through the fire exit doors. Look, and there's literally not even an attempt to show it. The crash bar noise is there. And those suckers are not quiet, either when you punch through them or when they slam closed. And nobody notices. Also, I have not figured out why, other than for the sake of the plot, Bruno is insisting that Kamala leaves. People attacking her have been taken into custody. Why would she be in any more trouble than anybody else? And also, where's she gonna go? She just like goes home to people who don't have powers. How is is that safer? I can't figure out how that makes sense. So that was a little bit weak. And then we have the phone call from Sana, which really feels like it felt kind of tacked on, like it should have been a credit scene. It's very much a hook for the next episode, and it's not as closely tied to this one as the final scene in the previous episode. It feels more like the scene from Damage Control in the first episode, which was a credit scene. I really hope you're enjoying this as well. Thank you so much for watching along, and I'm gonna get this ready to go, and hopefully it'll be up before Wednesday when we get to watch episode 4. Don't forget to leave me a comment, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!